here you call at 6:30. Oh my God, this is so annoying. Okay, hello. This is a prepaid debit call. At this stage, to accept this call, press 0. To refuse this call, hang up or press 1. To prevent calls from this call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using GTL. Yeah, how you doing, Miss Miranda? Hello, how are you, Marvin? I thought you were gonna call at 6:30. You called right at 6. So just getting ready to go into introduction. But you can hear me fine? Okay. Okay. All right. So thank you all for tuning in to Sip and Talk. Today we have a very special show for you today. We have a guest joining us. His name is Marvin Haynes. Now, Marvin Haynes is a young man who was charged at the age of 16 for a crime he did not commit. Um, he was charged with this crime based on an illegal interrogation, a faulty lineup, a corrupt prosecution, and an American injustice. So we have Marvin here with us this evening on the phone. He is here to walk us through the story and what took place. But before we get into that, I would like to show you a video. Now, this video that I am going to be showing is the actual lineup of when Marvin was first arrested. All right, so just bear with me while I pull that up.
Fine. Stand right there. Okay? Okay, stand right there. Look straight ahead.
Come on now. Oh, come on, not today. Give me a second, guys. Just please bear with me. X. Okay, we'll come back to the video. So Marvin, I'll just start by asking you some questions. I really wanted to show that video, and I can't get it up. Oh my God.
So, holding down for sipping tips, man. We definitely are having some technical difficulties. I'm pretty sure she'll be right back in here. So, just give us a moment.
Okay, so we're back live. Okay, so the first question, when I asked you, when exactly did your mom find out exactly what was going on, that you were being actually considered a suspect in a murder investigation?
I think we're having a hard time hearing them as well.
what was going on.
Oh my God.
Ms. London,
Yes, I heard you. They were saying that they were having a hard time hearing you. Okay, can you hear him now? Marvin, can you say something?
yeah, I hear you.
Can you hear him now?
Yeah, we can hear them a little.
Okay, all right. Continue, please. Okay, Marvin, you can continue.
Yeah, so it was like I said, she was completely blindsided. They just showed up at my house with a search warrant, telling her like they need to search the house. It was completely blindsided with the media. She didn't really know what was going on. She actually didn't even know where I was at because every time she called searching for me, they were telling her like I wasn't in custody. She called the juvenile. She was just completely like didn't know what to do, didn't know what was going on.
Okay. And then, so I wanted to ask you, did you did you know, at the time, did you understand what was going on? Did it seem like, from previous arrests that you may have had, did it seem like it was a different type of procedure? Or did you just figure, I'm just answering these questions honestly, just pretty much being honest?
Well, when they came and got me, I asked them, I was like, okay, what was this all about? And they constantly told me, like, well, we just have a warrant for you for a bench warrant. We just want to talk to you. If you can answer the questions, we'll let you go home. So I never even know that I was even talking to the homicide detective. I actually was under the impression, like, okay, well, they just want to conversate with me. I'll be able to go home. It's kind of like, this particular time, it was kind of different somewhat. But I was like, okay, well, they just want to ask me some questions. I didn't really understand what was going on. So I'm just like, okay, well, they want to ask me some questions. I mean, they're going to let me go home after this. So I just followed, suit, thinking that, they just wanted to ask me questions about, I didn't even know what they wanted to ask me questions about. I just was like, I was just agreeing because they told me I was going to be able to go home.
I
But
wanted
yeah,
to
it did seem a little, it seemed a little different from normal times that I was locked up. So yeah, it did kind of seem a little different.
Okay. Okay. And then the lineup. When they were asking you to do the lineup, what was the purpose of them asking everyone to show their teeth? Do you know why that was?
I never even understood why they was asking me to show my teeth, show everything. I was under the impression like, okay, well, just do what they say. You're gonna go home after this. I didn't even know what they were doing. I just was told to say some words, walk into a room. I just was just following their rules like they told me to do. And I was thinking I was going home. So I actually don't know why they nothing that they was doing.
Okay.
I was
Now,
like I said, I was blindsided by the whole situation.
so when I was watching the lineup, one thing that I did notice is there were 6 people in the lineup. You were number 4. When calling each person into the lineup, they referred to everyone by a number. But when it came to you, they referred to you by number and name and said your name more than once. Do you think there was a reason for that?
Absolutely. It wasn't accidental or unintentional for them to do that. They referenced me by name because they was trying to it's a suggestive strategy used by detectives to obtain an identification of a suspect. So it was completely subjective for them to do that. You know what I mean? So they called everybody else by number and me by name because okay, they was trying to get an identification. And they did that because I didn't fit the description of the suspect. So if you got somebody in a room and you call everybody by number, you call me by a name, I mean, I might identify you due to the fact that due to the fact that, you know, you calling this person by name, obviously you know this person, obviously it might be the person. So that's a strategy that some detectives do to get an identification.
Exactly. So originally, the identification that was given by the 911 caller said that it was a male in his 20s, 180 pounds, 5'10", 5'11", with the low crop haircut. At the time, you were 16 years old, you weighed 135 pounds, you were 5'4", and your afro was about 4 inches. Was any of that ever taken into consideration, and even just the fact that the witness gave one identification, said she was 75 to 85% sure, but yet it turns out that the person she identified wasn't even in the state of Minnesota at the time, so they had an alibi. Was any of that ever even taken into consideration?
I mean, at court it was took into consideration, but as it was investigating the case, it was never took into consideration. Even the person that the eyewitness identified, his alibi wasn't never really looked into. So these things that the detective just overlooked just to get a find a scapegoat. So to answer your question, yeah, the things was looked into, but not too much. Once my name got involved into this crime, it was like, well, we're going to try to get a conviction regardless. We're going to try to get him to be charged regardless of his description. Even though they knew I wasn't the person that committed this crime. You can look at the description of the person that the eyewitness described and know that I was not the person. Even another witness that was outside of the store identified the same type of person that he seen coming out the store. And they still overlooked my identification just to get a conviction or in a charge.
Exactly. All right, and then I remember you saying that they showed the witness a picture of you, but that picture was not like a recent picture. It was like what age was the picture? Were you in that picture that they showed?
I was 14 years old. I was 14 years old. That picture that they showed the eyewitness with me having short crop hair, because they knew that I wasn't the person that matched the description, so they was trying to suggestively put a lineup together to fit the description of the person that was identified. So what they did was they used a picture of me from 2002 to a 2004 murder case just so I could fit the description of the person. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was completely suggestive on their part.
Okay.
Actually, Minnesota got a new rule that they just passed. Even if this rule was back then, like 18 years ago, when I was incarcerated, I never would have been incarcerated. It's a new photo line. And Minnesota law enforcement has to begin using a science-based eyewitness identification to reduce the chances of wrongful convictions occurring. Because eyewitness misidentification is one of the top reasons wrongful convictions happen. So, yeah, this procedure that was used is called the double-blind method. If this procedure was in place, I never would have been incarcerated due to misidentification. So it's crazy that now they just passed a law in Minnesota where you gotta use a different procedure, and it's just the same thing that's convicted me. It's crazy.
So let me ask you, since this new law is, into place, can they go back to, like, say in your case, can they go back and can they, use that? Does it apply to, okay.
I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say, does it apply to, like, if a person has already been
You
incarcerated?
have 1 minute remaining.
Yeah, it definitely applies because it shows that the detectives and investigators on my case they were so corrupt that they were trying to get a conviction because the photo lineup that they got in place now, the, the new rules require that the investigators conducting a photo lineup does not know which photo depicts the suspect. This procedure is known as like the double blind method, and it's like if this was in place, I never would have been charged. I would have been home with my family. So like it just shows the suggestiveness of some police, how far they go to get a conviction. It's corrupt.
Right, and you're right. I'll wait because I know your time is running out before I ask the next question.
call back. So
Okay,
you want
okay.
Thank you for using GTL.
Yeah, that that's pretty serious right there as far as his situation goes, especially if there's no like DNA evidence, there is no like no forensic evidence at all, fingerprints or nothing. You're using old pictures. My question that I hope you can throw in there for me, because I don't want to interrupt the conversation. I'm really listening. But if you can't throw in the conversation, it's like, is it really any proof to like not saying that he's lying, but I'm saying like, do he have a way to prove that he was trying to
You're right. Understand
his mother was trying to
that,
find
right? So,
I'm sorry.
you start out by saying, you don't have to talk because you can remain.
If you could type your question for me, boom, I'm trying to figure this out, but I really want, oh God.
Okay.
Hello. This is a prepaid. An inmate in the Minnesota Department of Corrections, Stillwater Correctional Facility. To accept this call, press 0. To receive this call is correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using GTL.
yeah.
Okay, so Marvin, I pulled up the first interrogation video I wanted to play for everyone, so I'm gonna go on and let that play.
Perfect.
To remain silent. What does that mean to you?
Tell me that really I don't have to talk really.
Yeah, exactly. And then anything you say can will be used against you in court. And do you understand that?
Yeah.
And what does that mean to you?
Whatever I say could be used against me or it could be used for I don't know.
Okay. And you know that you have the right to talk to an attorney now and have a lawyer, the attorney, present now or at any time while we're talking. Do you understand that, Marvin? Okay, and in your own words, what does that mean to you? That I can have a lawyer? Yes. Yes. I wouldn't have my mom down anything. Your mom? Okay. But I'm talking right now specifically about an attorney. You realize that you have that right, correct?
Your mom's not an attorney, I assume. Is your mom a lawyer? Okay.
Okay. And if you can afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you without costs, for free. You understand that, right? Okay. And in your own words, what does that mean? Yeah. If I can get a lawyer for free, huh? Yeah. What am I here for anyway? Well, because right now you're in custody. You got arrested for that wound. You understand that, right? That's what the police arrested you for. And we want to ask you some questions about some other things. Your names come up in the investigation. That's what we want to talk to you about. All right. Is that okay? Yeah. Is that cool? And we'll have these rights in mind and having them explained to you, Mark. And do you want to talk to us now? Yeah. Okay. Well, start with, I'm going to have Sergeant Madison. Sergeant Madison's going to ask you a bunch of questions, and then we'll go back and forth and see how it goes.
Okay. First of all, what was this warrant that you picked up?
Okay. I'm gonna pause it right there. So what I want to point out here is how he is not accompanied by a guardian or legal counsel. They didn't read his rights to him correctly, and then they're still not telling him exactly what it is that they brought him in. That he's being considered a suspect in a murder, or a murder. So, okay, you mentioned, uh, I heard you ask for your mother, and they kind of just blew it off.
Yeah, absolutely. I asked my mom and I asked them what was going on. They again tricked me into telling me like, well, it's just for the warrant that we came and got you for. So again, they try to make me feel comfortable and let me know like, okay, well, this is about nothing on the suffering. And again, before I came into the room, they told me like, well, we just want to ask you a couple of questions and don't let you go home. That's all it's about. So once we got back into the room, I asked again. I'm like, well, what is all this about? And they told me exactly that you hear on the recording that. Well, it's not nothing. It's just a warrant that you had. It's trying to trick you.
All right. So I wanted to continue playing the videos because the videos really speak for themselves and show just how illegal this was. But it's just the loading and the sound. People can't hear the sound, and I don't know what else I can do. So I know you mentioned being mistreated by correctional officers and being told that you were going to spend the rest of your life in prison. Why do you think that was going on?
I think it was a big case back in 2004. It was an election year. So when I got into the county, I was blindsided about everything that was taking place. I was thrown in a hole for 4 or 5 months. Getting taken out the hole, getting thrown back in a hole for 5 to 6 months. Going into my whole trial, I was in a hole. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a 16-year-old boy in this situation. These people come into my room telling me you never we seen you on the news. I'm having visitors coming to see me. They taking my visit, giving me cold meals. I'm talking about they was treating me like I was a guilty man. You know what I mean? So I was just going through the smoke, getting mistreated, antagonized. I just was going through it now.
Did you ever mention this to like your lawyer that these things were going on?
No, I never talked to him about it because I'm like, okay, well, they got the wrong person. I never heard about somebody being wrong convicted. I never heard about somebody going to jail that wasn't supposed to be there. So I'm thinking like, okay, well, this is the environment I'm in, and they're gonna find out who really did this, and they're gonna let me go. I never heard about the justice system wrong convicted. I was blind to all of these things until I researched all this stuff and found out that it was multiple people that came before me that were wrong convicted, people after me that were wrong convicted. So it was I'm just like, okay, this is the environment I'm in. I'm gonna take it how it comes, and I'm gonna get up out of here, whatever.
All right.
I was just trying to be strong.
So during all of this, was the fact that you were a minor questioned without a guardian or legal counsel, the DNA was negative, there was no murder weapon, the witness statement was inconsistent. As we mentioned before, she said she was 75 to 80% sure the first person she identified was the right person, and it indeed wasn't. Was any of this ever looked into, investigated further? I mean, I don't. So did they even try just on these technicalities say we cannot convict this young man?
Absolutely not. When I got the trial, I'm thinking like, well, okay. I never heard about nobody being wrongly convicted. But my lawyer, he filed to have my case thrown out multiple times due to the fact that I was fighting for actual innocence. And he's telling them like, this is an innocent man, y'all send this to trial. And the evidence showed that this was the wrong person. So I mean, the things that they seen was not taken into consideration, and the prosecutor seen these things, and there was multiple things that came out that showed I was the wrong person, and these people still did everything in their power to convict me. Like it was so many different things. It was witnesses get on the stand telling them like, well, I can identify this man. I don't know who this man is. People getting on the stand telling them I had conversations with me at my home. Coming to find out they had a conversation with a whole other person
Wow. So you filed 3 different appeals and they were all denied. Do you know what the reason was for the denial?
Not too much why they were denied right now. I'm a couple of the things that was filed, I wasn't agreeing with. Like one of my attorneys, like my appellate attorney, she filed some things that I really wasn't comfortable with her following because I wanted to write my own brief. However, she still filed them, so I kind of don't really I don't have the knowledge of what she did file on some of them appeals and some of my other appeals that I filed. I don't have all the information there right now to answer that question.
Okay, okay, understandable. Okay, so I wasn't clear when I pulled up the court case online. So what I was reading is that at one point the witnesses they were thrown out, correct? Because the witnesses at one time they were going to be excluded because they weren't entered, by a certain time or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then is it my clear understanding that then they were brought back in?
Yeah. Well, this is what happened. I was starting trial at one point, and they had a selection of witnesses to come to testify. As we were starting this trial, two witnesses, the detectives found two witnesses to come and try to make up the story against me. And the judge allowed them in, so we had to take a whole other jury so we can allow these witnesses in. You know what I mean? And my lawyer tried to fight to have this stuff thrown out, but they end up coming in and getting on the stand and testifying. But in the long run, I think it was kind of like ideal for me for that to happen because some of the two witnesses that was allowed in, they got on the stand. They told the honest to God truth. They're like, listen, I don't know who this person is. This person I had a conversation with, they described a whole other person. And actually, the person that they described, we got the same thing. The person that they said they had a conversation with or that had committed this crime or whatever had the same exact same thing. So it was just a misidentification on the whole case.
Okay. All right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And so then, was your alibi? Because you said you had an alibi. Was it ever looked into?
Never looked into. When an investigation of a murder takes place, this is how they investigate a case. They go talk to the person that they the suspect they think that committed the crime. They ask where were you at, who was you with, what time was you there. Then they go talk to the people that you say you was with. They never done that. You know what I mean? Like at the time of this crime, I was at home with my family. They know exactly where I was at. But they never was called to trial. They never was talked to. The investigators, they just overlooked everything just to get a conviction.
So did you have a public defender? Or did you have an actual lawyer?
He was like a paid lawyer, like a paid lawyer, but I don't really have all the information to that either. I've still been looking into that. Some things say he was a paid lawyer, and some other things say he was pro bono. So I really don't have too much idea of really what he was because he won't communicate right now.
Okay, that's interesting. Wow. So, Marvin, I want to ask, since your conviction and, with the amount of time that you have, spent in prison, I know sometimes, over the years, people know, like, they may have wronged someone. Has any of those witnesses came forward and tried to recant their story?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been multiple witnesses come forward and just, tell the truth. Actually, a couple days ago, my family had a chance to talk to one of the family members, one of the persons that testified on one of the family members. And they broke down telling the story about they know I was wrong with the big head. You got to understand, a lot of these people that came and testified on me, they were juvenile. There was only one. The victim was the only person that was an adult. So you got to think the way how they did their procedure with me, how they lied to me, saying they had fingerprints, threatening me to give me time, something I didn't do. They did the same thing to these individuals. These individuals never had their mom involved. These people, mom never knew that they was coming to testify in a murder trial. So the tactics of these detectives was so corrupt. It was ridiculous. Like, they talked to these juvenile kids and threatened them with time. They manipulated them. They threatened them. They just did so many things to get a conviction. And a lot of the witnesses came forward and just told the truth about what happened. So I'm grateful for it.
All right. I wanted to ask the jury, did you have a diverse jury?
You have 1 minute remaining.
No, I wouldn't say that because it was one person of color on my jury, but she had a hard time even finding me guilty. Like when they was reading the guilty verdict, I swear she couldn't even say it. They had to ask her like 4 or 5 times. This lady couldn't even say that I was guilty. You know what I mean? It was just so crazy that the lady couldn't even look at me in my eyes. She couldn't even say guilty.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there because I know your time is running out and you're gonna call back.
Yeah, I'm gonna call back.
Okay. So I want to take the
Thank you for
time
using GTL.
to apologize. I'm sorry that the videos and stuff are not loading up correctly. I really wanted to show those videos because, like I said before, they speak for themselves, but I'm sorry, it's just not going to be able to happen. But you can find them on YouTube and on the page Justice for Marvin Haynes, or it's under Marvin Haynes. I apologize once again. You had a question, Boom, you wanted me to ask him?
No, you kind of got to it. I was just wondering, like, if they had any of the information that could prove, like, that she was like trying to get in contact with her son during the interrogation. Because I know, like, if you're underage, you know what I'm saying, it should be different. But you really get into everything, so don't worry about my question.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, Marvin. So I wanted to ask you, before your conviction, before they ever brought you in, had you ever known about or ever been near or in Jerry's Flower Shop before this incident took place, or any time before or after?
Absolutely not. I've never been inside of there. I can't even tell you what it looks like. I'm born and raised over north, so I have family members that live nearby, but that never was my area. So I never even knew that a flower shop was open. So when they was explaining to me in the interrogation, like a flower shop over here, over there, I never knew what they were talking about because I wasn't familiar with it. You know what I mean? Until I was like charged and my lawyer broke it down to me like exactly where it was at. But I never noticed there was a flower shop right there because I never been inside it. I never even really paid attention to it. You know what I mean?
And you
I
know
never
what?
lived.
It's so interesting that you say that because I lived over north myself at the time that it happened, but until it, happened and I was hearing about it on the news or in the newspaper, I had rode down Lindale like like 1,000 times and never even paid attention that there was a Jerry's Flower Shop there. So I can understand, you know what I'm saying, where you're coming from on that.
For sure, my sister said the same thing. They like, we didn't even know that was over there. The prosecutor theory was that I left 29th and Logan to go to 33rd and Lindale, Laurie and Lindale to commit this crime. You got to think how many blocks that's away. You know what I mean? You got to think about how many blocks and how many other locations to commit crimes too. You know what I mean? So they said I'm left a house from 29th and Logan to go all the way across town to commit a crime. The theory don't make sense. You know what I mean? And the theory was never. My lawyer never looked into the theory. Like, why would he have to go all the way over here to commit a crime? Like, you know what I'm saying? It don't make sense. It's not logical.
Exactly.
If you're familiar with North Minneapolis, you know how many blocks that's miles and miles away.
And hearing where you say you stayed, yeah, that was like, and I do know one thing, when you live over north and kids are, raised over north, wherever their area is, it's kind of like they kind of stay in that area. You get what I'm saying? So if you live on 27th and Colfax, you kind of mingle in that area. You go to the park in that area. You go to the store in that area. You hang with kids on the other blocks in that area. You don't too much really just go to the other area unless you got family members' house or something to go to. You get what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely, absolutely. I lived it on 33rd and Russell when this I lived on 33rd and Russell when this crime took place. In my area that I hung out with, that my friends was at, I used to be on 2710, all here, 2710 and 26 Oliver. That was my area. So if you know anything about North Minneapolis or in Minneapolis in general, you know that the blocks that go by F7 for order. So it's like, it's miles away. You know what I'm saying? Like, to leave over from here to go all the way across town to commit a crime, it don't even make sense. And there was another theory that just didn't fit. They said I committed this crime with another individual. This individual that they named that trial that they said I was with, this person was never charged in connection with the crime. He never was brought to trial to testify. You know what I mean? So it's just like the whole theory of the case of them saying that I committed this crime along with another individual. Where this person at? And I'm not trying to blame somebody else or like bring somebody into my case or none of that. I'm just trying to say, like, y'all people is not y'all smarter. Y'all should know, like, y'all got the wrong person. You know what I'm saying? It don't make sense.
Honestly, I think they do know they have the wrong person. I think they knew at the time they had the wrong person. And I just think that, they just wanted to pin it on you and excuse for what I'm going to say, but I felt like they was just playing pick a nigga. And that's just how I feel.
Absolutely. Because if you look into the case, and I'm not mad at the victim, I'm not mad at the people that lied on me. I'm not mad at all. I don't have no hate against my heart because I know what the police did to me. I know how they lied and told me things, told me untruth. You know what I'm saying? So these kids, these juvenile kids, and when you get lied to direct and told you're going to spend the rest of your life, of course you're going to make a mistake in anything to fit what the police saying. You know what I'm saying? Because it's scary. That's a scary thing, especially when your mom not involved.
Yeah.
So I believe that back then they just knew like, okay, well, this is a person of interest. Let's try to pin this case on them, and that's what they did.
All right. So my next question is, at one point the Innocence Project wasn't able to help you, but since then they have recently picked back up on your case. How is that looking for you?
It actually looks good. I'm grateful that they came back into my life. You know, some of the people that worked on my case, when they contacted me, they was like, look, Marvin, we can never forget about you because every time we see someone going home, we think about you because we like, this is an innocent man that's in prison. So thankfully they reopened my case. They want to reinvestigate it and present it to the court. You know what I mean? So I'm just grateful that they came back into my life. And I believe this time it's going to result in me getting free. So I'm just grateful that my support is getting bigger.
Yes.
My following is getting bigger. And, you know, you can't hide lies. There's only so much time you can hide lies. You always reveal it. So
Yes, the truth will reveal itself. Yes, it will.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're going to be praying that you come from behind those bars real soon. So I just have one last question. I know that Amy Klobuchar wasn't the prosecuting attorney on your case, but she was at the time the county attorney for Hennepin County. Do you feel that that may have played a part in your conviction, seeing as though she's kind of had like some, a little past, and, doing things as such?
Absolutely. I believe, like I said, it was a culture that was going on around that time. It was a culture where they were just trying to get a conviction by any means necessary. Even if it meant by convicting the wrong person, to secure a conviction by any means necessary. You know what I'm saying? There was a pressure to secure conviction for different individuals, whether it was me and other people that I know that was wrongly convicted. So I think it was all of the things added up to wrong convicted people. They didn't care. They just was in as long as they got the case closed and they was able to get to the next level of their career. I believe that, they just wanted to send anybody to jail, especially if it was black.
Exactly. All right, well.
And it's a shame.
Oh,
it's a shame. I just want to say one more thing. It's a shame because these are supposed to be the administrators of justice, and they was the administrators of injustice by doing the things that they did. It was just sad that these are people that was, supposed to protect and serve.
Well, Marvin, it is sad, but I have to say that they're not for us. They never have been, and they never will be. And it is sad. I would like to thank you for joining the show and telling your story. And as I said before, we will be praying for you to walk out of those gates real soon here. Appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me and sharing your platform so I can share my story.
You're welcome.
Please go to my website and share and find a petition and share it. It's justice for Marvin Haynes.com. I appreciate your support. And thank you again, Ms. Miranda. I appreciate you.
Thank you, and you have a good night.
All right, you too.
So to everyone that's listening, I would just like to ask you to
Thank you for
please
using
go to the page Marvin Haynes. You will be able to find the petition on there. It costs nothing to sign it, share it. He's already at 5,000 and something signatures and 7,000. So let's get those signatures up. And also let's keep in mind that not only as a 16-year-old child can a child be convicted of a crime that they can't commit, but it also can happen to our grown men. So we need to make sure that we bring awareness to this to try to prevent this from happening to the next person's child or our men, period. And I would like to take the time to thank everybody for tuning in and sharing your comments. You all have a good night. Thank you.